Every day the narcissists feel like apologizing, but their little ego won't allow them. Have you ever been in a relationship with someone who, deep down, you knew felt remorse for their actions, but could never seem to actually apologize? It's an unsettling feeling, isn't it? On one hand, they hurt you, but on the other, you sense that if their pride didn't get in the way, they might say the words you desperately need to hear. This internal battle within the narcissist, a daily struggle between the desire to apologize and the need to protect their fragile ego, creates a toxic dynamic that's both frustrating and heartbreaking for anyone involved. Every day, the narcissist feels like apologizing, but their ego stops them, trapping them in a cycle of pride and emotional immaturity. You've probably noticed it, the inconsistency between their actions and their feelings. They may show signs of remorse, but their ego won't let them fully admit that they were wrong. This paradox is one of the most confusing aspects of dealing with a narcissist. You know they'd hurt you, but somehow the apology never comes, leaving you stuck in emotional limbo. In today's video, we're going to explore the psychology behind this behavior. Why do narcissists, despite feeling regret, refuse to apologize? What is it about their ego that makes it impossible for them to say those two simple words, "I'm sorry"? More importantly, what does this mean for you and your relationship with them? We'll take a deep dive into the mind of a narcissist and uncover the reasons behind their resistance to vulnerability and accountability. By the end of this discussion, you'll have a clearer understanding of why narcissists behave the way they do, and how you can protect yourself from their emotional games. So, before we jump in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and share it with anyone who might benefit from understanding the dynamics of narcissism and how to cope with narcissistic behaviors. Now let's get started and unravel this complicated, often painful, but incredibly important topic. Why do narcissists feel the urge to apologize every day but never actually do it? This confusing and frustrating behavior can be perplexing, especially when they appear to be aware of their wrongdoings. However, understanding some key psychological factors can help shed light on why this pattern of behavior is so common among narcissists. Let's delve into the reasons behind this phenomenon, exploring how it relates to their fragile sense of self and their distorted view of the world around them. At the heart of the narcissist's inability to apologize is their deeply fragile self-image. On the surface, they may come across as overly confident, grandiose, and even superior to others, but this persona masks a core insecurity. Narcissists rely heavily on an inflated sense of self-worth to protect them from feelings of inadequacy, shame, or guilt. In essence, their entire self-esteem is built on an illusion, and admitting fault would directly challenge that illusion. Apologizing means admitting imperfection, and for a narcissist, this is a painful and intolerable blow to their ego. To maintain their fragile self-image, they avoid taking responsibility for their actions at all costs. While most people can embrace vulnerability and accept responsibility as part of their emotional growth, the narcissist cannot bear the risk of exposing their perceived weakness. Instead, they remain locked in a defensive stance, unable to engage in the humility required for sincere apology. Another reason narcissists struggle to apologize lies in their sense of entitlement. From their perspective, they often believe they are deserving of special treatment and are inherently superior to others. They see themselves as being above reproach and view apologies as unnecessary. To apologize would require them to acknowledge that they've wronged someone, and that's something they simply cannot do. In their minds, they are never the ones who need to make amends. Instead, they will often shift the blame onto others, portraying themselves as victims or misunderstood heroes. In this distorted worldview, Narcissists believe that others are at fault for misunderstanding their intentions or overreacting to their behavior. This inability to see themselves as fallible prevents them from taking responsibility for their actions, and the act of apologizing becomes an impossibility because it would undermine their sense of superiority. They would rather maintain the belief that they are always right, and that others are the ones in the wrong, even when their behavior clearly indicates otherwise. Additionally, narcissists frequently rely on manipulation and gaslighting as tools to maintain control in their relationships. Rather than apologizing or taking responsibility for their actions, they use these tactics to shift the blame onto you. Gaslighting, in particular, involves making you question your own perceptions, emotions, and reality, thereby creating confusion and doubt. When a narcissist employs gaslighting, they are essentially deflecting any accountability for their behavior. Instead of acknowledging their mistakes, they distort the situation to make you feel as though you are the one who is at fault. This manipulation allows them to avoid the discomfort of facing their own shortcomings, while simultaneously protecting their fragile sense of control. By turning the tables and making you question your feelings or intentions, the narcissist never has to confront their own mistakes or vulnerabilities. Instead, they maintain the upper hand in the relationship, manipulating the narrative to their advantage and ensuring that they are never the one to apologize. This constant shifting of blame keeps them in a position of power as they continue to shape the dynamic in a way that allows them to evade accountability. Ultimately, the narcissist's refusal to apologize stems from a complex web of insecurities, entitlement, and manipulation. Their fragile self-esteem prevents them from acknowledging their mistakes, while their distorted sense of superiority leads them to believe they are never in the wrong. Moreover, their reliance on manipulation and gaslighting allows them to maintain control over their relationships without ever having to confront their own flaws. This combination of factors creates a situation where, even though a narcissist may feel the internal urge to apologize, they are unable or unwilling to do so. Understanding these dynamics is key to navigating relationships with narcissists, and recognizing that their failure to apologize is not a reflection of your worth or actions, but rather a deep-seated issue within them. The narcissist's deep-rooted fear of abandonment is a critical factor in their refusal to apologize. Beneath their outward display of arrogance and self-assurance, narcissists carry a profound, often unconscious fear of being rejected or abandoned. This fear is so powerful that it influences nearly every aspect of their behavior, especially when it comes to admitting any wrongdoing. To apologize means showing vulnerability, and for the narcissist, vulnerability is synonymous with weakness. They fear that if they apologize, you might interpret it as a sign that they are not perfect, or, worse, that you might use their admission of fault against them, possibly using it as a reason to leave the relationship altogether. The very idea of being abandoned or losing their source of narcissistic supply, which often comes from you, drives them to avoid making an apology at all costs. Their fear of abandonment isn't simply about losing someone. It's about losing the admiration, attention, and validation that they thrive on. Narcissists need constant external validation to feel good about themselves. They often view their relationships as sources of supply, and the fear of losing that supply if they show weakness or admit fault is overwhelming. This fear can be so strong that it prevents them from taking the necessary steps to repair or mend the relationship, even when they know that an apology could help restore things. Instead, they may convince themselves that apologizing would make them even more vulnerable to your criticism, making them feel even more unsafe and exposed. They are trapped in a cycle of self-preservation, where maintaining the illusion of invulnerability and control feels like the only way to protect themselves from the terrifying prospect of being abandoned or rejected. Even though the narcissist may experience an internal pull toward offering an apology, this impulse is usually outweighed by their need to protect their fragile ego. Instead of admitting they were wrong or apologizing, they will find elaborate ways to justify their actions. They will create complex and distorted narratives in their minds about how they were right and how you misinterpreted everything that happened. In their minds, they are the victim or the misunderstood hero, and their actions are justified. They twist reality to fit their needs, rationalizing their behavior and convincing themselves that they don't owe anyone an apology. This self-deception is not just a coping mechanism. It's a powerful defense that allows them to protect their ego while avoiding any form of accountability. Their ability to spin these mental narratives keeps them from confronting the emotional discomfort that comes with acknowledging their faults. What makes this even more complex is the fact that despite their internal struggle, a narcissist is unlikely to ever apologize in a meaningful way. Their inability to apologize is not merely an issue of pride or stubbornness. It's a deeper resistance to engaging in real emotional growth. To apologize would require them to confront their flaws, their vulnerabilities, and the reality that they are not perfect. For the narcissist, this is simply too much to ask. Admitting that they were wrong would shatter their carefully constructed self-image and force them to deal with feelings of shame and inadequacy that they have spent their entire lives trying to avoid. It's much easier for them to continue the cycle of denial, self-deception, and justification than to face the emotional truth of their actions. This avoidance of responsibility and emotional growth is what makes it so difficult for a narcissist to ever truly change. The refusal to apologize creates a significant barrier in any relationship with a narcissist. It leaves the other person feeling hurt, misunderstood, and unappreciated, as their needs for validation and acknowledgement are consistently ignored. For those who are on the receiving end of this behavior, it can be incredibly frustrating and painful. You may find yourself repeatedly waiting for an apology that will never come, hoping that one day the narcissist will come to their senses and recognize their mistakes. The truth, however, is that this hope is likely to be unfulfilled. Narcissists are rarely willing or able to change, and expecting an apology from them is a fruitless exercise. No matter how much you might yearn for recognition of your hurt or an admission of wrong, you are unlikely to receive it. So, what does this mean for you if you find yourself dealing with a narcissist? The most important lesson here is to stop waiting for an apology that is unlikely to ever materialize. Holding on to hope that the narcissist will one day take responsibility for their actions is a setup for disappointment and emotional exhaustion. Instead of investing your energy in expecting something that is never going to happen, it's crucial to focus on your own healing and emotional well-being. Take the time to set boundaries that protect you from further harm. It's essential to acknowledge that you may never receive the apology or accountability that you deserve, and that accepting this reality is key to moving forward. By shifting your focus away from their inability to apologize and focusing on your own self-care, you can free yourself from the emotional entanglements that keep you stuck in a cycle of unmet expectations. Thank you for taking the time to explore the complex dynamics of narcissistic behavior with us today. It's not easy to understand the inner workings of a narcissist, especially when it comes to their refusal to apologize. But now that you have a clear picture of why this happens, you can begin to recognize these patterns in your own relationships and take steps to protect yourself. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with others who may benefit from this information. Remember, you deserve respect, accountability, and emotional honesty in your relationships. Don't settle for anything less. Stay strong, trust yourself, and always prioritize your emotional health. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
How narcissists merge with you to control your mind. Hello everyone, and welcome to today's video. I'm so glad to have you here, and I really appreciate you taking the time to join me. Today, we're going to explore a topic that's deeply unsettling but incredibly important to understand if you've ever been involved with a narcissist. We're talking about how narcissists merge with you to control your mind. Now, this isn't your typical discussion about manipulation or emotional abuse. It goes much deeper than that. Narcissists have an uncanny ability to infiltrate your thoughts, your identity, and your sense of self in a way that can leave you feeling confused, disoriented, and even like you've lost control over your own mind. So let's dive into how they do this, why they do it, and what it means for you if you've experienced it. When we think about narcissists, we often focus on their overt behaviors, their need for admiration, their lack of empathy, their grandiosity. But what makes a relationship with a narcissist so toxic and damaging is not just what they do on the surface. It's how they subtly and insidiously infiltrate your sense of self. From the outside, it might seem like they're just charming, persuasive, or overly involved in your life, but beneath the surface, something much more manipulative is happening. Narcissists don't just want to control your actions or emotions, they want to control your very perception of reality. And the way they do this is by merging with you in a psychological and emotional sense. So, how exactly do narcissists manage to merge with you in order to control your mind? It all starts with a process known as mirroring. Narcissists are incredibly skilled at reflecting back to you exactly what you want to see. When you first meet a narcissist, it can feel like they're your perfect match. They seem to share your interests, your values, and even your dreams. This isn't a coincidence, it's a carefully calculated move. The narcissist watches you closely, picking up on your likes, dislikes, insecurities, and aspirations. Then, they reflect those things back to you, making it seem as though they are just like you. That they understand you on a deep, almost uncanny level. This mirroring is intoxicating. It feels like you've found someone who truly gets you, someone who shares your worldview and who validates your deepest desires. But what's really happening is that the narcissist is slowly blurring the boundaries between you and them. They're not interested in understanding you because they care. They're interested in understanding you so they can control you. By mirroring your identity, the narcissist is subtly planting the seeds of control, making you more and more dependent on them for validation and self-worth. As the relationship progresses, the narcissist will start to shift from mirroring to merging. They want you to see them not just as a partner or friend, but as an extension of yourself. This is where things get dangerous, because once the narcissist has blurred the lines between your identity and theirs, they can begin to manipulate your thoughts and perceptions in ways that you might not even realize. They'll start to insert their opinions, desires, and beliefs into your mind, making it difficult for you to distinguish where you end and they begin. This merging process often feels gradual, almost imperceptible at first. You might start to notice that you're adopting their way of thinking, even if it doesn't completely align with your own beliefs. You might find yourself agreeing with their opinions more often than you'd expect, or making decisions based on what they would want, rather than what you truly want. Over time, this erosion of your sense of self becomes more pronounced. The narcissist's thoughts, feelings, and desires start to feel like your own, and you may not even realize that it's happening. One of the most insidious aspects of this merging process is how it affects your ability to think critically about the narcissist and the relationship. Once the narcissist has successfully merged with you, they create an environment where questioning them feels like questioning yourself. They've intertwined their identity with yours so tightly that any challenge to their authority or behavior feels like an attack on your own sense of self. This is how they keep you emotionally and psychologically trapped. You become so enmeshed with their worldview that it becomes nearly impossible to see the relationship clearly or to break free from their influence. A key part of this process is what psychologists call cognitive dissonance. This occurs when your thoughts and feelings are in conflict with each other, creating a sense of confusion and discomfort. Narcissists are masters at creating cognitive dissonance in their victims. On one hand, they present themselves as loving, caring, and attentive, especially during the initial stages of the relationship. On the other hand, they engage in manipulative, hurtful, or controlling behavior that contradicts the image they've created. This creates a mental tug-of-war where you're constantly trying to reconcile the two conflicting realities, the charming, loving person they pretend to be and the abusive, controlling person they actually are. Because the narcissist has merged with you on such a deep level, your mind struggles to accept that this person who seems to understand you so well, who mirrors your desires and values, could also be the source of your pain. This cognitive dissonance can leave you feeling stuck, unable to fully confront the truth of the situation. You might find yourself making excuses for the narcissist's behavior or minimizing the impact it's having on your life, because the alternative, acknowledging that you've been manipulated, is too painful to bear. Another way narcissists maintain this mental control is through a tactic called gaslighting. Gaslighting is when someone makes you question your own reality, and narcissists are experts at it. After they've merged with you, they'll start to subtly distort your perceptions of events, making you doubt your memory, your feelings, and even your sanity. They'll say things like, "That's not what happened," or "You're being too sensitive," whenever you try to call out their behavior. Over time, this erodes your confidence in your ability to trust your own judgment. What's particularly dangerous about gaslighting is that it plays directly into the narcissist's goal of merging with you. If they can make you question your own reality, they can replace it with their version of events. They can convince you that they're always right, that their perspective is the only valid one, and that you need to rely on them to interpret the world around you. This creates a mental dependency that allows them to maintain control over your thoughts and actions long after the relationship has ended. Narcissists also use emotional manipulation as a way to merge with and control your mind. They will often alternate between affection and cruelty, creating a cycle of emotional highs and lows that keeps you off balance. This intermittent reinforcement, where they give you just enough love or attention to keep you hooked, followed by periods of neglect or abuse, keeps you emotionally invested in the relationship. You become addicted to the moments of affection and validation, even though they are few and far between. This emotional roller coaster reinforces the merging process because it makes you more dependent on the narcissist for emotional stability. When they're kind and loving, it feels like a relief, like they've finally returned to the person you thought they were. But when they're cold and distant, you start to wonder what you did wrong, how you can get back into their good graces. This cycle of emotional manipulation keeps you locked in a state of constant anxiety and self-doubt, making it easier for the narcissist to control your thoughts and feelings. Another tactic narcissists use to merge with and control your mind is isolation. They often work to cut you off from friends, family, or anyone who might offer a different perspective on the relationship. By isolating you, they limit your access to outside opinions and support, making you more reliant on them. This isolation reinforces the narcissist's control because it reduces your ability to see the relationship for what it truly is. Without external validation or feedback, it becomes harder to challenge the narcissist's version of reality or to recognize the toxic dynamics at play. What's especially dangerous about this merging process is that it can happen so gradually that you don't realize it's happening until you're deeply enmeshed in the narcissist's control. By the time you start to feel like something is wrong, the narcissist has already woven themselves so tightly into your life, your thoughts, and your emotions that breaking free feels nearly impossible. You may feel like you've lost touch with who you are, that your identity has become so entangled with the narcissists that you can't separate yourself from them. So, how do you break free from this mental and emotional control? The first step is recognizing what's happening. Awareness is key to breaking the narcissist's hold over your mind. Once you understand that the narcissist has been merging with you to control your thoughts and emotions, you can start to reclaim your sense of self. This often involves setting firm boundaries and distancing yourself from the narcissist, both physically and emotionally. It's also crucial to seek support, whether from trusted friends, family, or a therapist. Breaking free from a narcissist's control is incredibly difficult to do on your own, especially if you've been isolated or manipulated into doubting your own reality. Surrounding yourself with people who can offer perspective and support can help you regain your confidence and your sense of self. Healing from this kind of mental manipulation takes time. You may need to rebuild your identity, relearning how to trust your own thoughts, feelings, and perceptions. But it's important to remember that you can break free. The narcissist's control over your mind is not permanent. It's a temporary illusion created by their manipulation tactics. By reclaiming your autonomy and reconnecting with who you are outside of the narcissist's influence, you can start to heal and move forward. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope this discussion has shed some light on how narcissists merge with you to control your mind. It's a difficult and painful topic, but one that's crucial to understand if you've been in a relationship with a narcissist. Remember, their control is not about who you are. It's about their need for power and validation. You are not defined by their manipulation, and you have the strength to break free. I truly appreciate your time and attention today. If you found this video helpful, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe for more discussions like this one. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.